Now we're going to be making a couple of the little adjustments. We are going to select our timeless layer. And we're going to activate the type tool. And then we're going to click on this little icon up here, and that is for the character and paragraph panels. And we are going to change the tracking on this text. Now we're going to drag over it, and we've got the tracking right here. And what we want is -100. So it's going to move the text closer together. And you may have kind of seen it jump up, okay, because that moves the letters closer together. And then we're going to activate treasures. I'm going to turn on the horizontal type tool. And then we're going to click on this Create Warped Text button. And we're going to kind of look at these different warped styles. And I like to scroll with the mouse, but how this scroll works is it only lets you scroll within a section. So I can scroll through these three. And then if I click on this, I can scroll and look at everything in this section, but that's it. Same with this. I can scroll within this section, but I can't really scroll anywhere else. And what we are going to be selecting is rise. Now I'm going to point down here and pull them up because we kind of lost our text there for a minute. We are going to adjust the settings just a little bit. We don't really want it to rise quite that much. Okay, so we're going to change it to about 44. Okay, 44 or 45, either one. And we'll click OK. And we still want to make this text look a little different. You can actually use the transform commands on text. So you can press Control and T, and we can make it a little wider, make it a little taller. And then when you're done, you just press Enter. Now we are going to also do a blend mode on this layer, and that will blend it with that background watch. I kind of want you to find a blend mode that you like. Okay, and then we're pretty much done with our treasure layer. We still are going to do something else with timeless. What we want to do is take timeless and we're going to copy it across. We're going to end up with 4 of them. And as we go across, it's going to get smaller and then a little smaller. And then when it's over here on the right, it's going to be the smallest. So we're going to duplicate the timeless layer. And normally what I do to duplicate is I just press Control and J. So that gives us 1 copy. We use our Move tool, move it over here. I'm going to press Control and T. And then we're just going to bring it in a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. Press Enter. I'm going to do Control and J, because that copies. Pull it over a little bit. Control and T. And then we're going to make it a little smaller. And I normally will grab a corner and press Shift while I'm dragging, and that keeps it in proportion. I'm going to press Enter. And now I'm going to do one more. Pull it over. Make it a little bit smaller. And press enter. Now, this one on the far right, we are going to decrease the opacity on. I'm going to make it about 30. And then our next one, I'm going to make the opacity about 40, 45. And then our next one, opacity is going to be about 60. So as it goes to the right, it gets smaller and it gets more transparent. Now, any changes that you want to make to Timeless, if you wanted to change the color overlay, okay, or anything like that, you would need to do it now because we are going to apply a blur effect. And once we do that, you aren't going to be able to modify your text anymore. So if you don't like the pattern or the color, you are going to want to fix it now. And you can see all I'm doing is double clicking on the color overlay. Now, to apply a blur to these, we're not going to do it to the first one. So our original Timeless, we're not going to do it to. We're going to do it to the second, third, and fourth. And you cannot apply a blur filter to a vector layer. And this is a vector layer. So what you have to do is convert it to a raster layer. I'm going to right click. We're going to rasterize the type. And immediately you're going to notice that it looks different. I don't have that T thumbnail anymore. I've got the checkerboard. That means that it's rasterized. It's now raster. So what I'm going to do is apply a blur. And I'm just going to use the Gaussian blur. And that's way too much blur. Our text disappeared. Okay, this is supposed to be a slight blur. So, you know, like 0.5 type blur. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to do the same thing for the next two layers. I'm going to rasterize the type. I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, and we'll pick Gaussian. I'm going to make this one just a little bit more blurry. And I'm using my up arrow on this because sometimes if you just want to, you know, do it a little bit, it's hard to get it right with the mouse. And for this last one, again, we are rasterizing the type. Filter, Blur, Gaussian, and I'm just going to bump it up a little bit, make it a little bit more blurry. And at this point, we're done with Timeless and Treasures, but there is another thing that we're going to add. We are going to add a little copyright statement in the lower left or the lower right corner. So I'm going to zoom in because it is helpful when you're doing this kind of thing to be fairly close. And I'm going to go down in my layers. So I want this copyright to go right above my background. Actually, I'm going to put it right above watches. And activating my horizontal tool. I really don't care what font you pick for this. So you pick whatever you like. And for the size, 70 is way too big. I'm going to put it about 14. I'm going to change the color to black. And I'm also going to open up my glyphs panel. Now this is a new feature in Photoshop. We have to go to Type, Panels, and Glyph. And this allows us to put special characters or symbols with our text. And by default, it is going to display these special characters associated with the font you selected. Most of the fonts have the standard set of characters, and we are going to be using the copyright symbol. Okay, so I know the one that I have in the notes is called Stencil, and it has it, and Papyrus here also has the copyright symbol. Most of them do. If you've chosen a font that doesn't have the copyright symbol, you may want to pick a different font. And then what we're going to do is kind of click down here. Ooh, 90 is way too big. Thought we changed that to 14. That still looks really big. Oh, okay. Let me click away. We'll activate the tool again. All right, click down here. That's about how it should have looked the first time. We got copyright. I'm going to change it back to the black color. And then right after copyright, I'm going to do a space. And I'm going to double click on the copyright symbol to get it into the document. And then I just press Control and Enter. And I can see my font has changed too. Got weird stuff going on here. But that is the last change you need to make, is to add the copyright. And then you're going to save your changes.